Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is my 6th Social Fresh event. So I don't know how many there have been, but I've been to an even split now. Half I've been an attendee, about half I've convinced someone to let me on stage. I don't know how, but I've been on stage. Ludacris connection, I have he'll be 3 in August, and he actually knows who Ludacris is already. So he loves the song Baby by Justin Bieber. So when that part comes up, he looks at us and says, "It's Ludacris." And I just wasted a minute of my 12 minutes on that, sorry. So the first thing I want to start with, I'm going to talk about what is profitable content, how you can create more of it, and how that relates to social. This is a really important intersection for me, too, personally. In my career, I started in social. I've somehow morphed into content. It's nice to see content comes up a lot now at social media conferences. So I'll talk to why I think that's important. But if I was on a team here, I'm sorry for being the worst teammate because I actually flew in this morning. I was scheduled to be in Orlando on Wednesday. So I actually made it to Orlando on Wednesday. I started Sunday in Raleigh, North Carolina. I had meetings in San Francisco, so I went through Atlanta. Then I went to Los Angeles Wednesday morning, flew into Orlando, had a family emergency happen somewhere around Texas. So I flew up to Raleigh as soon as I landed. I had to go through Atlanta because my flight got delayed. But what I realized, and I'm not good at connect the dots, but if you connect Orlando to Atlanta to Raleigh, and then Raleigh back to Orlando, it forms an airplane. So I just thought that was kind of cool. I wanted to make that a slide here. So I wasn't here, so I didn't get to know a lot of new faces, but I was kind of cute when I was little. I did have a mullet, so that's something I would have probably told you. I had a blonde mullet when I was about 2 years old. That's what she said on my wedding band. That's another thing I would have told everybody. I've been sued over a blog post. Raise your hand if you've been sued over a blog post. Yay. This is my son, Branch. I always put that in there. Yes. That's what that's there for. So the first thing, profitable content. This is different for every single person in this room for the most part. Now, profitable to me means driving demand and converting that demand into business. So we have the amazing field team here. If you guys like the water bottles, this is part of what we do. We try to connect everything together and make sure we add value in the content we create, but also we're able to deliver that and turn it into something. So it's different for everybody, but that's the first thing to think about. What is profitable content for you? And the way that we look at this, we group it into 3 different types of content. So I'm going to walk you through some numbers based on this, but we categorize it in the effort level. So high effort is most of what's been talked about today. That's producing a great piece of content, what I consider home run content, and also your blog. So that would be high effort content. It takes a little more time to produce. You do pay to produce it sometimes. Medium effort, Q&A. I can say Google, so if you use Google or other search engines, this is mainly how that functions. You want to know the answer to a question, you search for it. I've repaired a dryer and messed up a refrigerator thanks to Google, so you can search for questions, things you don't know how to do, and actually find the answer. So as a brand, you want to deliver that type of content too. And then low effort content is user generated. And for me, this is the most important. So some folks have talked about that today. Logitech was a great example, but that's something I want to drill into and actually show you guys from our customer data, how do these different types of content perform? It's going to come one time. I am hitting the button. Oh. This is probably my fault. I'm trying to hit the button though. There we go. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is social traffic. So this is, of the percentage of total traffic, what is coming from social? So for the home run type of content, on the aggregate, we're seeing about 1% of the traffic comes from social. Now that's important because home runs are different for every company. A home run for LinkedIn may get you 3 billion impressions. A home run for Joe's Plumbing that's creating content on a blog may get you 300 impressions, but that's not to say one is better than the other. It's just all different. So 1% there. Medium effort content, same number, around 1%. So this is distribution of traffic. Now when you go to low effort content, that jumps up to 21%. Because these are stories. This is similar situation content. It's other people telling your story, which works really well on social. Everyone wants that validation. That's how they're coming to their site. Now we're looking at leads turning into dollars, so conversions. So this is the conversion rate. The average in the industry I'm in is around 1.6, 1.8. So the folks that are using our products, this is our product called Oracle Content Marketing, they're doing really well. That's 3.7% of all leads are turning into a conversion. So that's for high effort content. Looking at Medium, that jumps up to 5.6. So again, Q&A. If you can answer the questions, you're becoming a teacher to everyone who's looking for answers to that question, which is something we should do. We should create that kind of content and share it. Now, what happens with low effort content? It jumps up again to 13.5%. And this is the easiest type of content to create. So, this leads in nicely to Jay's talk about the quantity of content and creating content volume. But that's the approach we've always taken at Compendium because the numbers tell us that's what's working. But you do need some of all three. So some guy named Jay Bear said this quote, which I love. You are competing against your customers' closest friends and family. And this is really important to remember because we run reports on how we compare to our competitors. That's what we usually do. But when you post something to social media, it's not usually against your competitors. It's against your mom, your brother, your cousin, all of your friends. And my favorite example of this is from my Facebook. It's a girl I went to high school with. Her name starts with C and rhymes with Chrissy. But I'm going to read this out because it's really hard to see. It says, to all my Facebook friends, I've taken some time off Facebook because I wanted to focus on my new house and family. But sadly, I can't because I've been unfaithful in my marriage for almost a year now with a guy named Travis. I lied so much to Keith and my family, and tonight I decided to leave Keith and my family for Travis. Yes, he is way younger and doesn't want kids, but who cares? She has kids, by the way, 3 kids. But who cares? I want to be free of the stress of marriage and kids and start over. So this is between 2 white papers. So you tell me, Brand, what am I going to read? Am I going to read Jerry Springer? Or am I going to download your white paper? So that's a really important point. And bringing this back to a serious note, this is relevance. This is what matters, relevance. So it's different for every person. It's not one size fits all. You have to deliver relevant content. And I didn't make that up. I wish I did. So now we're going to jump into 5 ways to do this. So we're doing pretty good on time. I'm going to go pretty quick, though, because we only have 12 minutes. So number 1, brainstorm with the entire staff on questions they hear every day. Marcus Sheridan calls this, they ask, you answer. This one's pretty simple. There are questions that you could answer that you probably don't have content for. If you think about the questions you've answered, your sales team, your technical support staff, your development staff, you can sit down and come up with a bunch of questions. This is a lighting and landscaping company, and in less than an hour, he came up with 70 questions. You create a blog post with answers to 70 of the most important questions you can think of. You post 1 per week, and you're good for the next year and then some. So that's a way to create more valuable content. Come on, quicker. Number 2, interview your colleagues and partners. This is similar to the Logitech case study that we saw, but this is one that I love to do. We actually did this at Compendium, and you can see this grouping of videos here with the green backdrop. We had a video crew on site in our office. We were in Indianapolis. We asked Jay to come by and join us for lunch, and we answered questions. We had assigned questions prior to them coming, and we just went up there for a minute or 2, answered questions, and we come out with great content that you can put on your blog, you put on YouTube, you put on Vimeo, and it ranks really well on social because when people want the answer to the question, you have a nice, quick video for that. And this eliminates the fear of the blinking cursor. If you tell someone to write a post for you or write social content for you, you all know that it doesn't get a very high response rate. So you're trying to make it easier for people to tell their stories. The third one, host your first company blogathon. So this is one of my favorite examples, and I learned this when I did a webinar with Marcus Sheridan, actually, but this is Kirk Drake, CEO of Ongoing Operations. So this isn't a huge, glamorous brand. It's a technical company, not a huge company either. But he came through, and he brainstormed every question with his entire staff. They assigned the questions to employees and said for the next 4 days, over 3 days. For the next 3 days, everyone's going to spend 90 minutes per day of work time answering those questions and creating content. This came out with over 100 blog posts. So the next thing you're going to say is, well, how did that perform, Chris? And that generated over $500,000. Between $500,000 and $1 million net new business came from the content they created in 3 days. Pause for dramatic effect. Number 4, work an event. So Social Fresh is amazing at this. If you go back to the very first Social Fresh and where it is now, there's tons of content that comes out of this event. We do that too. We had Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, Keynote, one of our last events, so it was Eloqua Experience last year. We turned that into lots of marketing content. We took that and turned it into videos. We spotlighted our customers. We went to customer sessions when they were presenting in other sessions, turned that into a video, posted that, shared that too. Just this week, we had John Legend keynote our Responses Interact concert, so we have a blog post about that and how that relates to marketing, and also some music videos, which people will like, but that's on our blog too. So this is pretty easy content to create. The fifth, this is my favorite, turn your email into content. How many people send tons of emails every day? How many people actually go back and search your archive? Be honest. Okay, so that's more than most people say, and a lot of you are probably lying, but so salespeople send tons of email. And we went through and did some numbers of this. I mean, they send a lot of email. They're answering questions all the time. They're trying to sell things. So this is an example of an email. And you can't read this, but it's, what are the best tires from a Honda Odyssey? So this is a company that sells tires online. Very specific answer. They went through, listed out tires, tell them why that's the best question. Fortunately for them, they use a content marketing platform like Oracle Content Marketing. They actually do use Oracle Content Marketing, but they BCC an email address. That puts it into the moderation queue, and after about 10 minutes of tweaking, turns into this. So you strip out the identifying information, you turn that into a great blog post. Each of these links is trackable, so the rep gets paid. If they click through and buy something from this post, the rep's actually getting commission on that. So every single person BCCs, they turn that into content. So that's another easy way to create valuable content. Recap, we're going to skip the recap, but these slides will be available. So one asset that we've made available is called the Demand Gen Cookbook. This wasn't featured in any other slides, but we took customers and took their stories of how they're successful with marketing and made that available. It's actually a really compelling guide, and it's content, social, demand, marketing automation, all of that blended together and how they're successful.